Music. Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, I'm going to get it started and we'll be going here in just a moment.
Beautiful. Thanks, Dawn.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending today's session. Pro Tools, we're working with creative, immersive Dolby Atmos music in Pro Tools, and I am so excited for today's session. Been waiting all week for this one with Carrie. Oh, sorry, I have a little feedback there. Let me take care of that. There we go. Sorry about that. So as we know, the webinar is being recorded. Your audio is muted. We will be posting this back to avid.com. If you are joining us on Zoom, go ahead and try that Q&A field. Let us know where you're calling in from and watching us. And if you're on social, give us a shout out as well. I see people from Argentina and Canada. So we're so happy to have you on today's session as well. I am very happy to introduce Carrie Thompson from Dolby Atmos. He's going to be doing a great presentation today, and I know he has so much to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Carrie. So are you there, Carrie?
I am. Good morning.
I see you. Perfect.
And I'm going to share my desktop here. Thank you all so much for joining. You're here today to learn about creating Dolby Atmos music with Avid Pro Tools, and also to learn why I don't do this, but I talk to engineers that do. Dolby Atmos for music is kind of newest outreach into the creative community, and is coming off the back of a large-scale rollout with film and television. So from movies right down through Netflix and things like that. The music you can listen on Amazon Music HD Unlimited and Tidal, and it all kind of starts in the content creation suite. So what I have here is the Pro Tools demo session that is available from your myavid.com download. The only difference is that I've converted it to 48K, so it can feed into the Dolby Atmos renderer. So I'm doing that with the Dolby Audio Bridge. This is set up in the playback engine. Dolby Audio Bridge is 130 channels wide, allows for all 128 channels of audio, plus then the LTC plugin that is available as part of the production suite. The Dolby Atmos renderer looks a little bit like this. In fact, it looks exactly like this. So we're going to be taking in our audio bed, this purple box right here, plus the audio objects. So you'll see that they're kind of spread out through here. I'll take you through a little bit of why that is in a moment. There are two ways to utilize Dolby Atmos in Pro Tools. So the first is with the integrated panning. That's made available by clicking on the Peripherals tab, and here in the Atmos tab that's available, you turn on your connection to the RMU host. So in this instance, because I'm in production suite mode, that's localhost. What that does is enable this new version of the Pro Tools surround panel. So by right-clicking on the mode here, we get to see theater mode, which is going to be representing where that sound is being placed in the Atmos field. And because it's got a green dot, this is actually in bed mode. So we're going to be limited to kind of placing sounds into these speaker channels, and obviously the associated panel between them. In the path here, I can also turn this into bus mode, into object mode, and you'll see that that dot goes orange to represent that it's now an object, and the green is sending metadata from the Pro Tools pan lanes. As you see here, this is a rather random panning mechanism that's going on here, and it's sending that. In that sense, the Pro Tools track is the generator for the metadata, and sending that to the Dolby Atmos renderer. The other option we have is on the track below it here. So the track below it, if I click on that and say E, for the track below it, you'll see that I'm also routing the audio to the object channel, but I've turned off the metadata send for this. There are 3 modes: green, red, and gray. So if you're in gray mode, it allows us to utilize the Dolby Atmos music panner. So this is a panner that exists for AAX audio units and VST, and takes the same object assignment as the output path. So all object data is audio and the metadata associated with. So the control data here, very similar. You just grab hold of it, and it's going to pan in the Atmos space. And if I had more space on my screen, I'd show you that actually moving in real time. But we'll look at that in a moment. So obviously this track was created for stereo. A lot of the music in the world today is created predominantly for stereo. But Pro Tools allows us to kind of expand that out quite quickly and easily. So when I opened this session, the I/O configuration automatically told me, hey, you don't have a pathway associated for 1 and 2. I work for Dolby. I always have my I/O set up to have the Dolby Atmos bed as the first output. So Pro Tools actually remapped all of that. So audio 1 and 2 became the inputs to left, right of the bed channel. So audio passed right off the bat. What I did then was create a different pathway, and actually have 2 paths here. So I've got the bed bus, which is an internal routing bus, 7.1.2, and then the bed output. So those channels are being fed through an auxiliary channel here that I've called bus control. The bus control is has inserted in it a channel strip, and I'm using this exclusively for an LFE filter. So the LFE component is something that's useful, but needs to be filtered, because otherwise you're passing full frequency audio into a channel that's not designated to actually enable that playback. So here I've got 2 filters, one high pass at 20 hertz, one low pass at 120, and that's just to control that sound that's going through there. So the bus path comes in, bed bus, goes out, bed output, and we'll take a look at some of the other pathways that exist as we go along. So this is what the process I took here was listening to the track and kind of picking out elements that might be useful for objectizing. So the track should work predominantly, as it does in stereo, but then kind of expanded out with some interesting portions. And the thing that immediately jumped out to me was the theremin here, because why not have a theremin fly around the room? So here you've got the Dolby Atmos music panner. It's in bypass mode right now, but I've actually put this into a step sequencer. So the step sequencer for these 2 tracks is set up in a 4-bar sequence. So as I click through the pathways here, you can see that actually I've set up some designated moves that I'm going to cycle through in that path. So theremin is going to kind of fly above your head, and you can see that representation here in Dolby Atmos Renderer. Now, not everything should move. Not everything should fly around your head. It's distracting. It's not particularly immersive after a while, and so it's less useful than you think it might be. But there are things that become kind of effects or rhythmic elements, and actually adding some motion to the mix that can really benefit the experience. So we just take a listen to the whole track as it plays back here for a moment. So that intro section before the beat kicks in, you'll notice there was a lot of panning that was going on. I wanted to have that available as kind of randomized track lane here. So that broke it track that's available here is actually sending that metadata using the built-in panning plugin. So the sound itself is kind of jittery and jarring around. So I recreated that with some, or augmented that with some panning. The other thing, the beat itself. So the beat itself should kind of sit in its own right, filling the room. So what I've done is in here I've actually created the beat bus that was in use for stereo and had stereo processing. I've actually routed that straight out to the quad bus, or I had routed it to the quad bus. Now in a different location. But basically, pulling that back into the room fills the experience out, maintains that kind of glue for the track that we were looking for. You'll notice some of the objects are routed to the audio, and some of them are routed to the bed, some of them are routed to the object, and some of them is generating metadata. The mix and flow of that can be automated as well. So towards the end of the track here, I actually set up the vocal, I believe it was, to route from the bed and go into the bus, or sorry, from the bed and go into the object. And so it provides these opportunities to kind of elevate the sound, to add special effects to the system, and to kind of utilize the sound field in the most beneficial way. And so lots of opportunities to explore Atmos there. Some of the things that we're looking at here. So I have two reverbs set up. One is the drum room, and so using I open up here using Stratus 3D. I've got a 16th sizzle plate preset, and again that's just adding some height and a nice reverberation to the percussion kit here. So really filling out that space in filling out the space in the room. So the idea behind Atmos is that it should stay out of your way as much as possible, allowing you to be creative. So whatever choices you want to make, in terms of processing, all occur upstream of the audio output, and then the metadata generation is independent. So whether that's with the Dolby Atmos integration in Pro Tools, whether it's with the Dolby Atmos Music Panner, it's completely up to you whether you need to use a lot of movement or very statically placed objects. It's a system that your creation in Pro Tools should then translate into the renderer. So just to close that loop, when it comes to creating your final master, so if we come into the Dolby Atmos renderer here, what I'm going to do is click on File, Create New Master File. Going to give it a name. So this is webinar 0813, and create that. When we create the Atmos master, any metadata source that's available is then shown as the blue circle around the object input. And the yellow is representing that there is no panner, no metadata generator associated with that. So we've put the renderer into chase mode, and that is generating over channel, or listening over channel 129 for that LTC that's being generated by the plugin. I'm going to show you my binaural render modes here. So label the inputs to those for description elements. I had set some binaural render modes there yesterday, but clearly they're not there today. Never mind. But you can set those binaural render modes into near, mid, far, or off. So the fuzz track that's here, actually, if we set that to far, in the kit, we actually want these to be near. We want the room kits to be in far mode. The broke synth and noise scrambler can be in far. And there are some vocal elements as well that I have not labeled, but they're available there as well. So when we then hit playback in Pro Tools, we can drop into record in the renderer, and that is then going to record all of that audio, all of the metadata, and I should probably the beat there. I told you I shouldn't do this professionally. But what you'll see in the renderer is all of that pan data, all of those object modes are kind of set up and rendering out. You'll notice here we also have a loudness measurement. So that's taking all of that Atmos, all of the object metadata, and taking a measurement of the loudness of the track. We have a target of -18 FPS for music, and that is this measurement right here. So the 9.5 that we're seeing there on the loudness meter is what is being right now. So on Tuesday, we'll be continuing a session with Jake Altschuler from Avid to discuss Avid Play, which will take us from this point where we have the Dolby Atmos master file created into actually getting your music out onto the Avid Play service, and then into the streaming services, Amazon Music HD Unlimited and Tidal Hi-Fi, for playback on home theater systems, the Echo Studio, and also that headphone metadata being put to use in Android devices with Tidal supported there as well. So I'm sure there are many questions. I'm sure there are things that I just completely neglected to answer, but I'd be happy to take those for you now.
Okay, Carrie, we do have a couple questions that came in. I think you may have touched on this one. So we have Gamer G who's asking, when an Atmos file is rendered, is it treated as an object instead of a discrete channel? And would this be similar to the sound itself being saved, but the metadata pans that particular to that sound or object?
So there are two pathways for audio in Dolby Atmos. So the bed, which is associated to a particular channel. So channel 1 here is always going to be represented out of the left speaker. Channel 9 is going to represent across both ceiling left speakers. And the pan law that's associated to that is going to be followed and reproduced into the space as needed. It will scale. So if your content creation system is 916, for example, that will scale up as well as down to 4:1 512 soundbars, all of those sort of things. And so, various pathways exist there. The objects are much more focused. So the objects you can place into a particular location in your room. So if that was between left and right speakers, or left and side speakers, you can make that very hyper-focused. You can attention just the left top overhead, left top front overhead. You can have granular placement and control of that sound field with the object audio. So I hope that answers the question. If not, then feel free to reach out again.
All right, Carrie, we have one in from Karma. Can you use an iPad to make moves with the Dolby Panner?
So you can actually use the Avid Control application for iOS and for Android to actually control that Atmos panner. So not the Atmos music panner necessarily, but certainly the integrated panning in Pro Tools. So and that scales from the iPad right the way up to the system, well, actually the System 5 and the System 6, the S6, sorry, as control on the MTM. So the sort of touch control is available on those platforms, and very kind of easy to integrate. So yes.
All right, awesome. And let's see, we have Ivan who's asking how to apply the same bed bus process to the objects. For example, a bus compression to the bed bus that also compresses the object in the same way.
Yeah, it's a classic question. Thanks, Ivan. It's possible to do. So there's been some AES presentations. You may have caught the one that actually sat excuse me, sat on a panel with Gavin Lewis and Ruben Cohen last year at AES New York, where Ruben took us through a description of the system that they put in place and worked through for mastering the Perry Farrell Kind Heaven album. It's a set of side chains and compressors and control buses. It's pretty elaborate, but incredibly powerful. So you can mix into or out of that compression scheme with all of the objects at the same time. I can highly recommend you check out Listen Mastering for more information on what they were achieving. But it's achieving exactly that, Ivan.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. I'm just going to check social here, see if we have some other questions coming in. Rob did post for Karma. It's at avid.com/products/Avid Control in order to do that control with the devices. So we'll get that one followed up as well. Let's see. I'm not seeing any other questions. We'll give it just a moment because we know there is that slight delay there. While we're seeing if any other questions come up, I will go ahead and pop up our next sessions. As Carrie had mentioned, we are going to have another session on Tuesday, which is going to cover Dolby Atmos with Avid Play. So that's going to be a great session. I can't wait for that one as well. So we'll see if one last scan. It looks like we don't have any other questions right now, Carrie. So that's great. You flew through and got everyone through the process. And so we'd like to thank you for doing the presentation today. It was really great. You couldn't see me, but I was kind of dancing in the room when you were doing the bass there. So I was enjoying that. And we'd like to thank everybody that attended today. We had people from all over the world, and we're so excited to see that and some great questions that came in. So again, if there is something you would like us to present, please drop us a line at liveonlinelearning@avid.com. And of course, these webinars will be available for playback if you go to avid.com, the online learning webinars page. So we'd love to see you on Tuesday's session. So let everyone know, and we will make sure to get that session posted posted as quickly as possible. So once again, Carrie, thank you so much for your time today, and thank everyone for attending, and we will get everything posted as soon as possible. So thank you, Carrie.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dawn. Cheers.
Wonderful. Thanks, Dawn.